You've always been jealous of Emma for having the personality that deserves beautiful things. My parents want my mountain property as my sister's forever wedding venue. Original post. I, 29M, never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but I'm sitting here at 2 a.m., unable to sleep after what happened at dinner tonight, and I need to know if I'm losing my mind or if this is as insane as it feels. Let me start with some background. I'm a renewable energy consultant. I design solar and wind systems for commercial properties. It's good work, pays well, and I genuinely believe in what I do. My sister Emma, 25F, works in customer service at a luxury hotel. According to my parents, she's the one with real people skills, and is destined for greatness in hospitality. Me? I'm just the technical one who lucked into a trendy field. Growing up, the dynamic was always clear. Emma was vivacious, charming, the life of every party. I was quiet, studious, difficult. When Emma got B's, my parents threw parties. When I got straight A's, they asked why I couldn't be more social like my sister. Emma's teenage tantrums were passionate expression. My request for quiet study time was antisocial behavior. Emma needing a new car at 16 was essential for her social development. Me asking for help with college tuition was expecting handouts. I paid my own way through college, lived on ramen and determination, and worked 3 jobs to avoid student loans. Emma went to a private college fully funded by our parents because she needed the right environment to flourish. I graduated with honors in electrical engineering and built my career from nothing. Emma graduated with a communications degree and has been finding herself through various retail and service jobs since. 2 years ago, I bought a property in the mountains. It's nothing fancy, a modest cabin on 5 acres with stunning views. I've spent every weekend fixing it up, installing solar panels, building a deck, creating gardens. It's my sanctuary, the first thing I've ever owned, the place where I finally feel at peace. I've poured my soul into every improvement, learning carpentry from YouTube videos, teaching myself landscaping, turning a neglected property into something beautiful through sheer determination. Emma got engaged 6 months ago to James, who seems like a decent guy. Since then, it's been wedding mania. My parents have been helping plan and fund an elaborate 200-person affair. Every family dinner revolves around venues, flowers, catering. I've tried to be supportive, even though I'm reminded constantly that my own future wedding, I'm single, won't be nearly as important because Emma's the first, and she's always dreamed of this. Tonight at dinner, my mother made an announcement. She said they'd found the perfect solution to the venue problem, my mountain property. But here's the kicker, they don't just want it for the wedding. They want me to designate it as Emma's anniversary retreat, a place she and James can use every year for their anniversary, where they can renew their love in the place where it was celebrated. I literally choked on my water. When I started to object, my father cut me off. Don't be selfish, son. You're single, you don't need all that space. Your sister has found love, and love deserves beautiful settings. Besides, it would only be once a year after the wedding. Emma chimed in with tears already forming. I've already told everyone about the mountain views. I've been planning the photos. How can you do this to me? Don't you want me to be happy? I tried to explain that this property is my home, my investment, my personal space. My mother's response? You've always been jealous of Emma's ability to connect with people. This is just another example of you choosing isolation over family. We gave you everything, and you can't even do this one thing for your sister. Everything. They gave me everything. I pointed out that I'd paid for my own education, my own car, my own everything. My father's face went red. We gave you discipline and independence. Emma needed different support, emotional support, financial support. You wouldn't understand because you've never been able to form real connections with people. The real connections comment hit deep. Yes, I'm introverted. Yes, I struggle with relationships after years of being told I'm less than. But I have friends. I have colleagues who respect me. I volunteer teaching kids about renewable energy. Just because I don't command attention in every room doesn't mean I'm incapable of human connection. Emma then delivered the final blow. Mom's right. You've always resented me for being the one people actually like. This property thing is just another way to punish me for having the personality that deserves beautiful things. The personality that deserves beautiful things. Those exact words. I left without finishing dinner. They've been calling and texting all night. Emma's messages range from, "How could you embarrass me like that?" to "James's family already knows about the venue," to "You're ruining my life." My mother's are about how I'm choosing to be difficult and destroying family harmony. My father sent one text, I expected better from you. Here's what kills me. I would have probably let them use it for the wedding if they just asked nicely. If it had been a request instead of an expectation. If it hadn't come with the assumption that my property should become Emma's permanent anniversary spot. If it hadn't been wrapped in decades of being told I'm worth less than her. But the entitlement, the assumption that my accomplishments exist to serve Emma's desires, the complete dismissal of my own life and feelings, I can't do it anymore. I've spent 29 years being the difficult one for having boundaries, the selfish one for having needs, the antisocial one for being introverted. Am I crazy here? Is it really selfish to not want to give my sister unlimited access to my property forever? Or have I been so programmed to doubt myself that I can't even trust my own instincts anymore? I just want to know if other people see this as insane as I do, or if I really am the selfish brother ruining his sister's happiness over property. Update 1. 2 weeks later I discovered I'm a textbook scapegoat and my whole life makes sense now. I want to thank everyone who responded to my original post. I read every single comment, many of them multiple times. Several people mentioned terms I'd never heard before: scapegoat child, golden child, narcissistic family dynamics. I fell down a rabbit hole of research that has fundamentally changed how I understand my entire life. I found online communities for scapegoat children. Reading their stories was like looking in a mirror. The constant criticism, the moving goalposts, the way your accomplishments are minimized while your siblings' mediocrity is celebrated, the gaslighting that makes you question your own reality, it all has a name. It's abuse. Systematic, deliberate abuse designed to maintain a family hierarchy where one child absorbs all the family's dysfunction while the other is protected from all consequences. The past 2 weeks have been intense. I've started therapy with someone who specializes in family trauma. She had me write out memories from childhood, and seeing them on paper made me realize how abnormal my upbringing was. Like when I was 8 and won a science fair, my parents didn't attend because Emma had a dance recital the same day. Not even a conflict. Her recital was 3 hours later. They just didn't want to tire themselves out before Emma's big moment. Or when I was 15 and teaching myself to code, my mother would deliberately interrupt to have me help Emma with her homework, saying I was being selfish with knowledge if I refused. My therapist asked me to list my major life decisions and examine how many were influenced by family criticism. The results were shocking. I chose engineering partially because my family couldn't claim credit for my success in a field they didn't understand. I bought property 3 hours away because distance meant safety. I've avoided relationships because I genuinely believed I was too difficult to love. My entire life has been shaped by their narrative about who I am. Since my original post, the family pressure has escalated. My mother showed up at my office. Security had to escort her out after she started crying in the lobby about her heartless son who won't support his sister's happiness. Emma created a family group chat specifically to share wedding venue inspiration photos, all pictures of my property she'd apparently taken during her last visit. My father sent me a formal letter, who does that, outlining my family obligations and threatening to remove me from their will if I don't comply. The will threat is almost funny. They paid for Emma's entire education and living expenses for 7 years. The money they didn't spend on me probably equals more than their entire estate. But it's not about money, it's about control. It's about maintaining their narrative that I exist to serve Emma's needs. Here's what really opened my eyes. I called my uncle, Dad's brother, who lives across the country. We've never been close, but I needed perspective from someone who knew my parents before kids. His response shocked me. He said, "I wondered when you'd finally see it. Your parents have been setting you up as the family villain since you were a toddler. Your first word was book, and Emma's was mama, and they've been punishing you for it ever since." He told me stories I'd never heard. How my parents would brag about Emma's looks while describing me as hopefully smart enough to make up for his personality. How they joke at family gatherings that they got one for the heart and one for the tax returns. How he and his wife had tried to give me extra attention during visits but were told they were undermining parenting strategies. The saddest part? I've internalized so much of this that my first instinct is still to doubt myself. Even writing this update, I keep thinking, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm being dramatic. My therapist says this is classic scapegoat conditioning. We're trained to gaslight ourselves before anyone else has to. I've made a decision about the property situation. I'm going to offer one compromise. They can use my property for the rehearsal dinner only. Not the wedding, not anniversaries, just the rehearsal dinner. One night, with a strict guest limit, and I'll be present the entire time. This isn't about being generous, it's about testing whether they can respect a boundary. My therapist thinks they'll either refuse entirely, because it's not complete capitulation, or agree but then try to push for more once they're there. I'm prepared for either outcome. I've installed security cameras around the property. I've documented everything. I've even consulted a lawyer about harassment and trespassing laws in my state, just in case. It feels extreme, but I'm learning that what feels extreme to me is actually just basic self-protection that most people take for granted. The hardest part is mourning the family I thought I had, or maybe the family I hoped I'd someday have. There was always this voice in my head saying, once you achieve enough, they'll be proud. Once Emma settles down, they'll see you too. Once you prove yourself, you'll be loved. But that day was never going to come. The goalposts would always move. The bar would always raise. Emma would always matter more. I'm not going to lie, it hurts. It hurts in ways I don't have words for yet. But there's also relief in finally understanding that it was never about me being not good enough. It was about needing someone to blame, someone to carry the family's negative emotions, someone to be the eternal problem so everyone else could feel like the solution. I'll update again after I make the rehearsal dinner offer. Based on what I've learned about narcissistic family dynamics, the reaction should be telling. Update 2, 3 weeks later the rehearsal dinner offer caused a nuclear meltdown. I made the offer through email, CCING everyone so there'd be a paper trail. Professional, clear, bounded. I offered my property for the rehearsal dinner only, Friday evening before the wedding, maximum 30 guests, ending by 10 p.m., with me present as host. I even offered to cater it myself. I've gotten pretty good at cooking over the years, another skill born from self-sufficiency. Emma's response came within minutes, and it was everything my therapist predicted. She called me crying so hard she was hyperventilating. A rehearsal dinner? A rehearsal dinner? You want to stick me in some back corner event while keeping the real venue to yourself? This is exactly like when you got the bigger bedroom just because you were older. You always get everything. For context, I got the bigger bedroom that was actually the converted attic with no insulation. I moved there voluntarily at 14 because it was the only way to get distance from the chaos. It was sweltering in summer, freezing in winter, but it was mine. Emma's room was twice the size, recently renovated, with an en-suite bathroom. But in her mind, I got the special private space, while she was stuck in a regular room. My mother's email was a masterpiece of manipulation. I'm disappointed but not surprised. You've always needed to make everything difficult. We're offering you a chance to be part of this family's happiness, and you're turning it into a negotiation. Your sister deserves better than crumbs from your table. But here's where things got interesting. James, Emma's fiancé, replied separately, "Thank you for the offer. I think the rehearsal dinner at your place sounds lovely. Maybe we could visit soon to discuss details." This caused an immediate crisis. Emma called me screaming that I was trying to steal her fiancé by manipulating him with fake reasonableness. She accused me of deliberately trying to ruin her wedding by making her look like the unreasonable one. "You always do this," she sobbed. "You act all calm and logical and make me look crazy. It's not fair that you get to be the calm one." That phrase stopped me cold. She was admitting that my calmness, my basic emotional regulation, was something she saw as an unfair advantage I had over her. In her mind, my ability to not have a meltdown was a weapon I wielded against her, rather than a basic adult skill her parents never required her to develop. The family group chat exploded. Aunts and uncles were added. Cousins were dragged in. My parents began a campaign of calling every relative with their version. I was jealous of Emma's engagement, trying to sabotage her wedding, probably gay and bitter. I'm not gay, but the fact that they'd weaponize it says everything, definitely going through some kind of breakdown. Then James did something unexpected. He posted in the family chat, "I've been quiet, but I need to say this." OP offered something generous, his private property for our rehearsal dinner. The response has been concerning. "Emma and I need to discuss this privately. Please stop the group attacks on my future brother-in-law." The silence after his message was deafening. Then Emma turned on him publicly. "How dare you take his side? This is my wedding. My family. You're supposed to support me." James responded simply, "I am supporting you. That includes being honest when I think we're wrong." What followed was Emma calling off the wedding in the most dramatic fashion possible. A Facebook post about how she couldn't marry someone who didn't understand that family means supporting each other's dreams unconditionally. Within hours, she deleted it and posted that they were taking a break to focus on their relationship. My mother called me drunk at midnight, slurring about how I'd finally won and destroyed the only good thing in Emma's life. My father sent a text saying I was no longer welcome at any family gatherings until I fixed this mess. But here's the plot twist. James reached out to me privately. He thanked me for inadvertently showing him what he was marrying into. He said watching Emma's reaction to a reasonable boundary made him realize she had no concept of boundaries at all. He loved her, but he couldn't marry someone who expected the world to rearrange itself for her comfort. He was insisting on couples therapy before any wedding planning resumed. "Your offer was more than fair," he wrote. "The fact that it caused this much chaos says everything about the dynamics at play. I need to know if Emma can learn to be a partner, not a princess waiting for servants." I felt bad for him, honestly. He seems like a good guy who genuinely loves my sister but is just now seeing the full picture of what that means. I also felt, for the first time, a tiny bit of sympathy for Emma. She's as much a product of our parents' dysfunction as I am. While I was being trained to have no needs, she was being trained to have nothing but needs. While I was learning to be invisible, she was learning that visibility was her only value. Neither of us got to be whole people. My therapist says this is a crucial realization, that Emma is both perpetrator and victim. She's hurt me tremendously, but she's also trapped in her own prison of entitlement and emotional dysregulation. It doesn't excuse her behavior, but it explains it. The last 3 weeks have been quiet. Too quiet. Emma and James are in therapy. My parents are giving me the silent treatment. Extended family is split. Some think I'm being reasonable, others think I should keep the peace. But for the first time in my life, I don't care about keeping the peace. Peace at the cost of my self-respect isn't peace, it's just quiet suffering. Final update: 6 months later she cancelled a big wedding and we're both in recovery. I need to tell you how this all ended, because it's not what anyone expected, especially me. After months of couples therapy, Emma and James decided to proceed with marriage but completely changed their approach. Emma called me 2 months ago, the first direct contact since the meltdown. Her voice was different. Quiet. Uncertain. Nothing like the sister I'd known for 25 years. "I need to tell you some things," she said. "Things I've been learning in therapy. Can we meet?" We met at a neutral coffee shop. Emma looked exhausted but somehow more real than I'd ever seen her. She told me that therapy had been brutal. The therapist had made her examine her entire life through a new lens. "Did you know," she said, staring at her coffee, "that I've never once been told no without someone eventually giving in? Not once in 25 years. She explained how the therapist had asked her to list her accomplishments without mentioning other people's reactions. She couldn't do it. Every achievement was measured by praise received, not personal satisfaction. She'd never developed an internal sense of worth because our parents had made her worth entirely external, based on being more charming than me, more loved than me, more centered than me. Her entire identity was built on comparison to my supposed failures. "I don't even know if I like my job," she admitted. "I just know Mom and Dad say I'm good at it because I'm not weird with people like you are. I don't know if I actually wanted a big wedding or if I just knew it would be another thing where I won, and you didn't." The conversation was surreal. Here was my sister, the golden child, telling me that being the favorite had destroyed her ability to know herself. While I'd been developing skills and independence out of necessity, she'd been kept in a state of perpetual emotional infancy, addicted to approval and terrified of self-reflection. "James almost left," she confided. "He said he couldn't marry someone who didn't know the difference between wanting something and deserving something. I didn't even understand what he meant at first. In my mind, wanting and deserving were the same thing. If I wanted it, I deserved it. That's what Mom and Dad taught me." She then said something that shocked me. "The therapist says you saved my life by saying no about the property. If you'd given in, James would have left, and I would have continued this pattern until I destroyed every relationship in my life. Your no was the first real gift anyone's given me in years." We talked for 3 hours. About our childhood, our parents, the different but equally damaging ways we'd been shaped by their dysfunction. Emma admitted she'd been jealous of me too. Jealous of my independence, my skills, my ability to be alone without falling apart. "You got to become a person," she said. "I only got to become a performance." The wedding conversation came up naturally. Emma and James had decided to have a tiny ceremony. Just them, his parents, and 2 friends as witnesses. No reception, no grand venue, number 200-person guest list. "I want to get married," she said, "not perform getting married." Then she asked if she could say something at the ceremony about our conversation and what she'd learned. I agreed, curious but wary. The ceremony was last month. I wasn't there. We both agreed that was healthier given everything. But James sent me a video of Emma's vows. In them, she said, "I spent 6 months fighting for a venue that would have cost me my brother. A beautiful setting that would have been built on an ugly foundation of entitlement and pain. James helped me see that I was so focused on where we'd get married that I'd forgotten to think about who I was marrying and who I was becoming. My brother's boundary wasn't a rejection, it was a mirror, showing me someone I didn't want to be. Today, I marry you not in a mountain paradise but in a simple room, because I've learned that people matter more than places, that respect matters more than beauty, and that the only thing that deserves beautiful things is the choice to do beautiful things for others. Our parents didn't attend. They'd been invited but refused when Emma wouldn't move the ceremony to a proper venue or invite extended family. They called it a tantrum wedding and said she'd regret not having the wedding she deserved. Emma told them, "I'm having exactly the wedding I deserve, one that reflects who I actually am, not who you need me to be." The aftermath has been interesting. Our parents have essentially disowned both of us now, me for corrupting Emma with my selfishness, and Emma for betraying everything we gave her. They've rewritten the narrative so that we're both disappointments who threw away their love. In a weird way, it's brought Emma and me closer. We're both scapegoats now, both free from our assigned roles. We meet monthly for coffee. Sometimes James comes too. We're all in therapy, individual and, surprisingly, Emma and I have started sibling therapy together. We're learning how to have a relationship that isn't based on comparison and competition but on genuine care for each other as people. It's not perfect. Emma still struggles with entitlement reflexes. I still struggle with assuming I deserve less than everyone else. We both have moments of falling back into old patterns. But we're trying, and that's more than I ever thought possible. Last week, Emma asked if she and James could come see the mountain property, not for an event, just to visit. To see what I'd built. To understand this place that had become such a symbol in our family mythology. I said yes. They came up yesterday. Emma walked around quietly, taking it all in. Then she said, "It's beautiful. You made something beautiful." And for the first time in our lives, her compliment to me wasn't followed by something about her, wasn't comparison, wasn't competitive. It was just acknowledgement. We sat on the deck I'd built, looking at the view, and Emma said, "I'm glad you didn't give this to me. I would have destroyed it without even meaning to, the way I destroyed everything else I was given without earning. You earned this by becoming someone who could create it. I need to earn my own beautiful things." James added, "We're actually looking at properties nearby. Not to be close to the venue that never was, but to be close to family that finally is." I'm not going to pretend this is a fairy tale ending. Our parents are still toxic, still spreading their poison to anyone who'll listen. Extended family is split and exhausted from the drama. Emma and I have 25+ years of damage to work through. The wedding that started all this became something entirely different from what anyone planned. But I have a sister now. Not a golden child, not a perpetual princess, but an actual sister who's doing the hard work of becoming a whole person. And she has a brother, not a scapegoat, not a servant, but someone she's learning to love for who he is rather than hate for what he represents. The property that was supposed to be her wedding venue has become something better, a symbol of boundaries held, growth achieved, and the unexpected grace that can come from saying no. Emma was right about one thing. People who do beautiful things deserve beautiful outcomes. It just turns out that the most beautiful thing any of us did was finally tell the truth.